I will love you
and stand by you
and stand by you
as long as we both shall live.
as long as we both shall live.
The couple looked happy as they exchanged vows and danced their first dance. Shanann's family gave toasts expressing their joy.
I just want to say I love you both. You look great together, and she's been looking her whole life for a good guy. I couldn't ask for a better one. I love you guys.
The chilling video was provided by Shanann's family for a new Netflix documentary, American Murder: The Family Next Door. Never before seen home videos also show Watts hugging and kissing his daughters at the airport and enjoying a trip to the beach with the family. The documentary uncovered personal text messages between Watts and Shanann that shed light on the deterioration of their marriage in the months leading up to Watts killing pregnant Shanann and their two daughters, Bella and Cece, in 2018. I realized this trip's what's missing in our relationship. It's only one-way emotions and feelings, Shanann wrote. The last message she sent was on the night before she was strangled at their home in Colorado. Finally on plane and about to take off, she texted Watts, "Thank God. Prayers for safe flight. Love you." New video also reveals Watts with his mistress, Nicole Kessinger.
Thank you so much for coming out here with me, Christopher. I'm having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me.
Steve Helling is a senior writer with People magazine.
So Chris Watts is in jail, and he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life. He is in his cell 23 hours a day, and he spends all day reading his Bible. He really does feel guilty about what he did. He feels remorse. He wishes he'd done things differently.
In the stillness of August 13, 2018, Shanann Watts stepped out of her friend's car and walked toward her front door, exhausted from a long work trip. It was nearly 2 a.m., the kind of hour where shadows feel heavier and the world is quieter than it should be. Shanann had spent the entire trip confiding in her friends about the distance growing between her and Chris, a distance she couldn't explain but could feel in her bones. Something was wrong. And before she even boarded her flight home, she sent what would become her final text message, though she had no way of knowing it. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't angry. It was the kind of message wives send when they're trying to hold a family together. She told Chris they needed to talk in the morning. She told him she felt alone. She asked him to be honest with her, just honest. A simple request. A gentle plea. A final attempt to reach the man she once believed she knew better than anyone. That message delivered. The phone screen lit up once and went dark. Shanann didn't know Chris had already made choices she could never have imagined. She didn't know what waited inside the quiet house she walked into. She didn't know her last message, typed with hope, would become the key that revealed her state of mind, her love, and the truth of her final hours. And as this story unfolds, if you want more detailed, respectful deep dives like this, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. It helps Crime and Whispers continue telling stories that deserve to be remembered. Shanann stepped into her home that night believing tomorrow might bring clarity. But the truth had already taken a turn she never saw coming. As dawn broke over Frederick, Colorado, the world outside the Watts home moved forward like any other morning. But inside, something felt terribly wrong. Shanann's phone remained silent. No reply to her late-night message. No reassurance. No explanation. She had a doctor's appointment that day, an important one for the baby she carried. She was excited the night before, texting her friend Nicole about it. But morning passed, and Shanann never checked in. She never left the house. She never called. Nicole's worry sharpened with every unanswered text. She drove to the Watts home, expecting to see Shanann come to the door, maybe tired, maybe distracted. But instead, she found only silence. Shanann's car was still in the garage. Her purse and medication were inside. Her shoes were by the door. Everything pointed to one thing: she hadn't gone anywhere. Nicole called the police. And as officers arrived, Chris pulled up moments later. His voice sounded calm, too calm. He walked them through the house, showing them empty rooms and toys left behind, trying to act like a concerned husband searching for answers. But detectives noticed how rehearsed he sounded, How his face stayed strangely blank when talking about the wife and children he claimed to be desperate to find. If you're following along and want more investigations told with clarity and compassion, tap the like button and subscribe. It truly helps the channel grow. Meanwhile, Shanann's final text sat quietly in her message thread, a plea for honesty. A request for truth. Her last written words before everything vanished into the early morning silence. And in that silence, the first cracks in Chris's story began to show. Detectives continued searching for clues, but it didn't take long for the surveillance footage from the neighbor's house to shift the entire investigation. The camera captured Chris early that morning, backing his truck into the garage in a way the neighbor had never seen before. Not once. Not ever. It wasn't routine. It wasn't normal. The neighbor, standing beside the detective, couldn't hide his suspicion. He whispered that Chris was acting strangely, moving differently, speaking differently. Something was off. Inside the house, Chris repeated his explanations like lines he had practiced. Shanann must have gone somewhere. Maybe she took the kids to a friend's place. Maybe she needed space. But none of it matched the evidence building around him. Detectives noticed every small detail, how he crossed his arms, how he avoided certain questions, how he seemed more focused on staying calm than searching for his family. His story didn't feel like panic. It felt like performance. As officers examined the home, they found no signs of forced entry. No packed bags. No items missing. Everything pointed inward, not outward. Everything suggested the answers weren't somewhere out in Frederick, but inside the house they were standing in, and inside the man giving them incomplete truths. Through it all, Shanann's final message seemed to echo through the investigation. She asked for honesty. She asked for clarity. Instead, detectives were unraveling lies that grew more tangled by the hour. And as pressure built, they prepared to bring Chris in for a deeper, more revealing conversation. When Chris agreed to come to the station for questioning, detectives watched closely. He spoke with a strange calmness, a quiet tone that didn't belong to a man whose wife and children were missing. They offered him a polygraph test, and he accepted confidently, as if he believed he could beat it. But the machine revealed what his words couldn't hide. Every denial triggered spikes and dips. Every answer contradicted by his own body. When the test ended, the examiner didn't soften the truth. She looked him directly in the eyes and said, "Chris, you failed every question." For the first time, his mask cracked. His voice wavered. He shifted in his seat. Detectives moved in gently, reminding him that honesty was his only way forward, echoing the very thing Shanann had begged him for in her final text. Chris finally asked for his father. And when his dad entered the room, the weight of the investigation settled. Chris broke, not with the full truth, not with clarity, but enough to reveal the lies he had been burying. He offered fragments of a confession, twisted pieces of what happened, trying to shift responsibility, trying to soften the reality of his choices. Detectives knew immediately that it wasn't the whole truth. But it was enough to open the door to the answers they needed. The confession signaled the beginning of the end. But the full truth, once uncovered, would reveal a level of deception that left investigators stunned, and the world heartbroken. As investigators pressed deeper, the rest of the truth surfaced. Chris's carefully built facade collapsed, revealing the hidden affair, the resentment, and the desperate plan he had crafted long before Shanann walked through the door that final night. While the exact details of that morning are devastating and will not be described graphically, detectives confirmed that Shanann and the children never left the house alive. The truth was clear. The man who had been pleading on camera was the one responsible. And through it all, Shanann's final text message remained a haunting symbol. She had reached out with love, not anger. With hope, not suspicion. She simply asked for honesty. It was the last thing she ever wrote, the last attempt to save a marriage she didn't know was already gone. Her message became a heartbreaking reminder of her character, someone trying to hold her family together even when everything was slipping away. As news broke and the country reacted, friends and family mourned the loss of Shanann, her daughters, and the baby she carried. The courtroom later heard emotional statements honoring their lives, reminding the world that this story was not about the man who lied, but about the voices and futures that were taken far too soon. If you value storytelling that honors the victims and reveals the truth with care, please subscribe, like, comment, and share this video. Your support keeps crime and whispers alive and growing. Today, Chris Watts sits in prison with no possibility of release. But Shanann's final message, the one she sent hoping tomorrow would be better, remains etched in time. In the end, this story is not defined by the darkness that followed, but by the quiet, hopeful words of a woman who never stopped trying to save her family.